Live streamed. Record to the cloud. Perfect. All right. Thank you, everybody, for joining us for this edition of Smart with Your Money Live. My name is Felipe Arevalo. I'm the Community Outreach Coordinator here at the San Diego Financial Literacy Center / DebtWave Credit Counseling. And today we're talking to you parents. Being a parent myself, I always love the ones that have to do with kids. But today we're talking about saving for your child's future, whether it's short-term, long-term, whether you have little ones, thinking about little ones, where do you start? What do you do? What are some of the different saving avenues that are available to you? And we'll get started. First, I'm not a financial planner, so I'm not going to give you financial advice as far as where to invest, how to invest. I do always suggest that you do some research, talk to a financial planner if you're thinking about investing, or some of the different options that are available. I'll just kind of give you an overview. We do have at the SDFLC the opportunity for you to talk to a either virtually or over the phone, talk to a certified financial planner pro bono, and meet with them and get some of these questions answered in a one-on-one setting. That's our financial opportunity clinics that are presented by the Foundation for Financial Planning. So definitely take advantage of that. If you're interested, register on our website, sdflc.org. And we look forward to connecting you with one of our volunteers. But we'll get started here. Saving for your child's future. All right, so when do we start? ASAP. If you have kids, start now, if you can. If you don't have kids, maybe you still start now, if you can as well, especially if you're thinking about someday having kids. Kids are going to be expensive. There's definitely a budget change. If you listen to our podcast, Talk Wealth to Me, which you can get anywhere you get your other podcasts, we've had episodes on the cost of children, and I think the scariest one to record is when they had my wife on there with me at the same time. Kind of scary. I was going to get myself in trouble, but I survived. But kids are expensive. They're going to adjust your budget, whether you plan ahead and adjust it or not. So start as soon as possible. If you're thinking about having kids, start adjusting your budget, start saving, start putting money away. First, though, it's important to determine what are your goals. Are you trying to save for college? Are you trying to save to someday help your kids with a down payment on a house? Are you trying to save, because they're little so that you can buy them their first car? What is it that you're saving for? What are your goals? And then that will help guide which saving avenue might be best for you. If you're saving for, their wedding before, and they're little, some of these saving avenues aren't going to be the right fit. If you're saving for college, there's advantages to some programs over others. So you really want to try and sit down. What are your goals, along with all the other financial goals you have? What are your goals for saving for your kids? And that's going to help guide which one of these saving methods is really going to be the best one for you. So write them down. I'm a big fan of writing goals down. Put them on sticky notes. Do what you got to do to see them all the time. Or keep them somewhere where you're going to be able to revisit them. But what are your financial goals for your kids? And then I know I say it almost every single time, and I apologize for that, but it's budget time. You got to set up a budget, and it's always budget season at the SDFLC. But you really want to make sure that you have a solid budget so that you can see how much money you realistically can put away for whatever it is you're trying to save for your kids. And this goes for really anything else, personal finances. If you're on a debt payoff journey and you're trying to pay off your debt, set up a budget and see how much money you could throw at your debt. If you're trying to buy a car, trying to buy a house, trying to invest, doesn't matter what it is, it's budget time. sorry, and you really got to, you know, write everything down, your expenses, your income, match it up. Where can I cut back? What's increased recently? You're probably paying more for gas if you're here in San Diego. Your electricity bill went up earlier this year. Groceries, and you adjust it as time goes, and as prices change, as maybe your income changes, you adjust it, and that will give you a realistic starting point on how much can you really put away for your kids' savings, and then kind of go from there. One first possible step is start a kid's savings account. While they're sitting there watching Storybots, which is like my favorite little kid show. It's sad that I have a favorite little kid show, but Storybots is it. Second, maybe Octonauts, because it teaches them about the ocean and whatnot. But you have a kid's savings account. This is something you can open for them when they're little. Usually at your bank or credit union, they offer these. They're kind of linked to yours. You'll be able to see them when you go on your online banking. You can move money around to them and things like that. As your kids get older, maybe you give them access to this account. Maybe then you open up a checking account so they have access to their money. Depends on what your goals are again. If you give them access to their money, depending on your kid's personality, they may go out and spend all the money and really mess up all the hard-earned saving that you've been doing along the way. But start your kids' savings account. It's a good place to start. Kind of like when you're setting up your own emergency savings account. It's not going to grow. You're not going to gain a bunch of interest from putting money in a savings account, but it's safe, it's accessible, and it's very liquid, and you can reach in there and grab it for whatever it is, your kids. Again, it really depends on what you're trying to accomplish and what your goals are and what you're trying to save for. Now, let's say your goal, you got little ones. When my oldest finished second grade, it just, for some reason, that math made sense in my head when I was like, second grade, that means in 10 years from that, I was thinking that day, I was like, 10 years from now, I'll be in the hot heat waiting for him to walk and do his high school thing, finish high school. 10 years is not that long. Like, what are you doing, Phil? You step your game up. And, I was closer to his college years than my college years at that point. And it was like a turning point in my thinking where I was like, oh man, this kid is like growing up fast. Forget the fact that he's getting tall, and, the doctors say he'll be probably 6 inches taller than I am by the time he's done growing. It's like, come on, dude. I'm already, kind of short. He's gonna be towering over me. But you start your kids' savings accounts. But if you're saving for college, like I started thinking, like, man, 10 years to college. If college is your goal, then you might want to look at a 529 plan. And these accounts, I just skipped that one. That it's more important than a 2-second thing. The accounts come with tax benefits and some oftentimes low fees, that kind of thing. But they're basically saving like a 401k for college type of thing, to oversimplify it. And each state has its own 529 plan, and I believe doesn't matter if you're a resident, you can go into the different states for 529 plans. Again, talk to your financial advisors, but to try and figure out which one's best for you. But it can be used, it's set aside, it can be used for college expenses, or like a private K through 12 if you end up going that route. Again, you could potentially find tax deductions for putting money into the savings account, and then the withdrawals are used for the education expenses. They could also be exempt from the federal income tax. So it's a good way to put money in tax-free, and then potentially, for the most part, take money out tax-free as well. Again, talk to your financial planner, find out which one works for you. Some of them have where you can like purchase credits at a state school, and start kind of paying for college now, which is cool. But that one seems a little tough, because what if your kid decides he loves a different state and he's off to a different, will they transfer? What will take it? So 529 plans, look into it. If saving for college is your goal or saving for education is your goal, that one could have some good benefits, good tax. Now, if you're just saving long term, maybe you just want them to get started early on their retirement and they're two, financial independence, retire early, like to the extreme. If you're in the finance world and like that, fire to the extreme, then 529 plan is not made for that. If you're saving for their wedding and their two, that kind of thing, then you might look more into a Roth IRA as an investment avenue to try and put the money in there and have it grow. Is it Roth after taxes? So you don't get that tax break. But and then they have limits on how much you can put in every year. But if you're going over that limit, then you're probably doing okay. And then you can put money in there, and then if you take it out, there's certain rules on when you can take it out, but for certain reasons you could take it out early. Again, talk to your financial planner to make sure that this is a good fit for you. But this is a good way to potentially have your kids' money grow free. Or you can open them a custodial account, which is like a brokerage account in your kid's name. With most of the major investment firms offer them, some of the banks offer them. Basically, it's a brokerage account so that your kids can buy stocks and ETFs and that kind of thing, mutual funds, whatever. And if you're not 18, you can't just go out and buy them. But if you open up a custodial, I keep saying custodian, a custodial account for your kids, then you can invest into it. And then at a certain age, when they reach adulthood, whatever that is, depending on where you live and what the rules are and whatnot, the account gets turned over to your children. Again, kind of there's always that unknown, because if your kid's two, you don't know what they're going to be like at 18, 20. Are they going to go spend it all on a really fancy car that they probably should have saved it for something more important? You don't know. And with a custodial account, it just goes to them. You lose control at that point on what happens with that money, with these accounts. So you're just you save in there, and then it's up to them to manage it correctly. But a good way to have your money grow, or your kids' money grow. If you have a lot of money to put in, this might not be a good fit for most of us everyday consumers, where we're just kind of trying to put a little bit of money away. You can open up a trust fund for your kids. This is going to give you a lot more control when they can be distributed, how it's going to be distributed, and this removes some of the uncertainty. Maybe you can give it to your kids, have it dispersed in pieces and things like that. They're expensive to set up, though. It can cost you thousands to set up a trust, so you really have to have a lot of money to put into it, to really take advantage of it. If you only have a couple thousand, do you really want to spend it all on setting the thing up and then not be able to save? Becomes some of the issue. But this one will allow for more flexibility with a lot of different things. But this is not something you just set up on your own. Then you have a health savings account. This is a little different. If you have a high deductible family health plan type scenario, you can contribute into a health savings account. This isn't necessarily money that your kids are going to get, but if they need it for some reason, you can go ahead and having the you can go ahead and use it for the medical expenses, dental, that kind of stuff. And if you use it for a qualified expense, you could take then the money out, usually tax free, which is cool. Now, the next one is actually relatively new. I believe it started in like 2014, if I'm not mistaken. It varies by state a little bit, but parents who have a child with a disability possibly could open an ABLE account. And it allows them to contribute, like in this year, for example, up to $16,000 in contributions. There's no federal tax deduction for the contributions, so it's not like, you know, a 401k or 529 or anything like that. But it does, the money does grow tax-free and then can be withdrawn tax-free for qualified expenses. Again, check with your state and see what they offer. Here in California, there's the CalAble. I took the screenshot off their website. You can check that out for more info to open one or anything like that. But there are, you know, requirements. If someone, you do have to have a disabled or a child with a disability, and they have to be diagnosed before the age of 26 to be able to be eligible, and they can roll the money and you know, from 529 plans potentially. So there's a lot of cool things you could do with this, relatively new, but this helps save for, you know, children with disabilities. If that's, you know, part of your situation, part of your goal, then this is definitely something you want to take a look at and explore more. This is really, really kind of cool. And, you know, the great thing about it is, I was reading, is it doesn't count against your government assistance. So, you know, parents with children with disability, if they qualify for government assistance, are able to contribute to the ABLE account and then not risk losing, you know, potentially Medicaid or, you know, food service or food, whatever the food program is called. And here in California, it's CalSNAP. You know, so that's a really big benefit if someone's in that situation. Definitely take a look at it if that applies to you, and talk to your financial planner. But don't forget to save for you. Avoid the sandwich. That might sound completely, if you haven't watched our previous presentations, you know, you haven't heard of the sandwich generations, then you're probably just thinking that guy got hungry when he was putting together his slides. But I didn't, I promise. Don't forget to save for you. And the reason you want to save for you is because in the future, you want to be able to have the means to take care of yourself financially, so that you don't go passing along that burden potentially to your children, who then may get sandwiched in, that's where the term comes from, between caring for you as their parent, themselves, and then potentially their children, and then they get sandwiched in as the sandwich generation. You can check out our Smart With Your Money Live on the sandwich generation right there at the QR code, or if you're watching this on YouTube, just click on the other videos that we have on here and then check that out. You'll probably see that GIF from then as well. But don't forget to save for you and take care of yourself, because you have to take care of yourself so that you can best take care of your kids. You know, it's like that air mask analogy on the plane. You know, you got to put the mask on yourself before you're running around trying to put it on everyone else. So definitely keep an eye on that. And then do what you can do. I don't have a funny gift for this one, but do what you can do. I often see online, you know, personal finance pros, all kinds of terms you want to use for it. And sometimes the advice that's given is so out there, where it's like, oh, if you want to make your kid a millionaire by this age, save up this much money every week and that'll do it by the time they're 25. But the numbers that they throw out there is not realistic for most people. You know, it's not something that can work in everyone's budget. So set up your budget, take care of your finances, and then if you have that money, start putting it away depending on whatever your financial goals. Start figuring out where you can make cuts, where you can increase your income, maybe a side hustle or whatever, and start putting that money away for your little ones if that's your goal. I do have a question here from Facebook. Question, my kids handle money differently. Is that normal? Do I have to adjust how I save for a spender versus a saver? Yes, kids, it is normal for kids to handle money differently. You know, just like everything else, kids, they're all their own little unique people. You know, I love both of mine to death, but sometimes it's like, you're nothing like the other one. So yes, they're going to handle money normally differently. That's completely normal. My parents taught money the same way to my brother and I. He was good at it. I had to go learn the hard way. So it's not that they did a better job of teaching him. If anything, I say that he learned from watching, because I'm older, watching me mess things up, and then he decided he didn't want to do that. But yes, each one's going to be different. Now, as far as adjusting how you save, I don't necessarily know that if you can adjust, yes, but then you're going to have one kid saying, "Oh, that's not fair. They got so much more money than I did." Why? Because they're not good at managing the money that they do have. I see that problem coming up in the future. Like, wait, you gave him more because he's not responsible with his money. That doesn't quite sound fair. So I think you just adjust the way that you are. And then as far as with that spender and that saver, you definitely want to, go ahead and try and teach that spender to become a little bit more of a saver, and try and, teach personal finances as much as possible. Which brings me to the next one. In 2 weeks, we're going to have teaching your children about money, which is quickly becoming one of my favorite presentations that we do. But the thing with the spender is maybe you want to keep control of your money a little bit, control of their money a little bit longer before you give them the reins to their own money. And that way you can kind of make sure that that money lasts a little longer. Most people get better with money as they age. So if you can hold off a little longer on maybe giving that financial gift or whatever it is, that could be a big one. Like I know a family that had money put away for their kids' college, but they didn't give them the money until after. They made them take out student loans, and they said, when you graduate, you will get this money that I saved for you for college. If you don't graduate, you don't get any of it. That kind of creates that incentive, like, I better finish because they're going to pay off a chunk of my student loans. If I don't finish, I'm out of luck. I got to pay the whole thing. Are you required to save for your kids' future? I mean, it's great, but I don't think you're required to. Kids are expensive. You're going to be paying, I think I saw a stat, upwards of over $250,000 to get them from 0 to 18. You're putting a lot of money into them, whether you're saving or not. So if it's just not in your budget right now, it's okay. You want to save a little if you can, but you want to make sure you take care of yourself. You don't want to fall into credit card debt. You don't want to carry credit card debt while you're building savings for your kids and anything like that. You got to take care of your own personal finances first. If you have extra money afterwards, feel free to, then start looking to see where you're going to save. You got to plan for your retirement. You got to, there's a lot of expenses that you got to take care of first before you then go start saving for your kids' future. But if you can, even if it's a little, I saw a study, if a child has, it was a small amount, like $100 to $500 worth of college savings that their parents have put together for them, it significantly increases the chance that they succeed and graduate in college, just having a couple $100 put away. So, that could be a big, difference if you value college education, as I do, having that little bit of money put away and increasing their success rate in college graduation, in attending, and then actually finishing that college, having that little bit of money away can make a big difference, according to statistics. Some people don't like statistics. I do. So, but you can put that money away as you get closer, if that's all you can kind of put away. Any other questions? Love the questions. So. Well, you can always continue learning. Our podcast called Talk Wealth to Me is available wherever you get your other podcasts. Check it out. There's lots of episodes on parenting, teaching kids about money. We've had our co-host Chase's kids on as guests, or his son on as guests. I mentioned preparing for baby episode early on with my wife. Lots of different episodes on there, and then they're not all about kids and money, so you can go on there. Not your grandparents' economics. recommend if you're a parent on like using economics to teach personal finances to little ones. And then join us in 2 weeks, same place, same channel. Register at the same Eventbrite place for teaching kids about money. Again, one of my favorite ones so far, as I always continue my journey to try and teach my kids so they don't learn the hard way, so that hopefully they learn personal finances without building up a bunch of debt. But thank you for joining us, and look forward to seeing you again in a couple weeks. And yeah, thanks everybody. Hope you guys all have a great day.